Okay, I guess I'm ready. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I'm back. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to stream this week, or actually for a little while, because the online courses that I'm taking are taking considerably longer than I thought they would during the day, and so I'm really not finishing until basically after the time that I would be streaming, which, you know, I need to take that time to myself and get all that done, but at the same time, it does mean that my availability for streaming is less than I thought it would be. On the plus side, I actually have the energy to do so. This definitely feels like a completely different I can't stream excuse or justification compared to when I was working as the school teacher, because as opposed to just feeling like I don't have the energy to do it, now it's just that I don't have the time. And I would rather have that any day of the week. That being said, sorry about that. I have repainted these lads because I realized that, to be completely honest, I didn't like the high contrast look on them. I probably went overboard with spraying them, but that's okay. And so I didn't like how the light was, how I had presented the light on them. So I went ahead and gave them a different base coat, using a lot of the same colors, but clearly a lot more subtle because it was through the airbrush. So hopefully, you know, it'll look a little bit more like the rest of my army, which was another reason why I stripped and redid them. And I can try and use what I learned with the high contrast practice on my character models to make them really stand out compared to the rest of my army. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and continue painting the black details on these guys, and then go back and hit their other colors, and hopefully get them looking really good for my army. Okay. I need to take my glasses off. I always forget about that. Let's go ahead and get some paint mixed up. There we go. And now let's do some touch-up work, because from what it looked like, there were a couple of light spots on his backpack that I could go ahead and hit. Now, honestly, I'm not sure how talkative I'm going to be this stream. It is a little later, and I am a little more tired simply because of having to work so late. I basically, from about 8:30 until about 5:30, I've been listening to video lectures about computers and virtual networks and a bunch of stuff that just was an incredible amount of technical vernacular thrown at me. And I'm hoping I'm remembering it well enough for when I eventually have to take my assessment on it to get certified. But it's just an incredible amount of technical work, technical terminology that's kind of overwhelming, given that I believe it was meant to be like a month-long class, based on the fact that it's broken up into 25 lessons that are about an hour, hour and a half long. And I've done 11 of them so far. So I'm definitely trying to hit about, oops, my hand slipped, hit about 4 or 5 of them a day, so that I can finish all the classes by this weekend, and try and get certified as quickly as I can, so I can move on to the next one, get certified in that, and eventually apply for a job very, very soon. Until then, I'm kind of in a weird limbo, which I don't really want to be in if I can help it. So that guy's about done. Let's go ahead and paint up Sergeant so he can look all pretty. But yeah, that's kind of the plan right now, and that's kind of where I am. Hopefully it doesn't mean that I won't be able to stream at all. I would love to have time to stream. It just seems that right now, until I can figure out my work schedule a little bit better, I'm just not going to have the time, you know? So hopefully that will not continue to be the case for too much longer. And I mean, part of the problem is I've got it sped up. I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible in terms of the lecture, but I want to take notes on it too, so I'm not just passively listening to a guy talk at 2.5 speed for, you know, 9 hours. So, and what that's causing me to do is every time he talks about a key concept, I've got to pause it and type it out. And if I missed it, or I didn't understand it, or I forgot what he said midway through typing it, I've got to rewind it, then listen to it again, and just go through that whole rigmarole a lot. And it's really slowing down my progress with these lessons. Because I believe if I were to just take the time, the runtime of all these videos, they would be about 5 hours, 5.5, 6 hours worth of courses a day. But with me having to slow it down and pause it and stop it and whatnot, it's definitely taking a whole lot longer than that. But you know, that's okay. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm learning a lot about computers and technology that I did not know. I don't know how much of it I'm actually going to need to retain, because it's a lot of like crash course basic stuff. But it does seem to be an incredible amount just to get started. Because right now it's things like what even are these things? What is a wireless network? What kinds of wireless networks are there? What is a virtual network? And something that I've been told, and I'm pretty sure it's true, is that eventually, once I finish this certification, even if I struggle with it or forget it or need to refresh my memory, you know, Google is just one cell phone search away. So I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm more worried about the network security stuff and understanding how to become proficient in all that. Partially because, you know, that's what I'm getting certified in, but partially because of my own edification. That's stuff I've always been interested in and just haven't had the time nor the structure to learn it. And here I'm being granted a perfect opportunity to do so. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. Because right now I'm doing like the Core 1 stuff for the A+ course with CompTIA. And it already just seems like such an overload of information. I'm deadly curious what's in Core 2 once I finish this 25-hour Core 1 course. Okay. That being said, I did like the general contrast I was getting with the initial paint job, but I did not like where I placed the light and the highlights and shadows on these guys, which is a big reason why I stripped them down and kind of repainted them with the airbrush, because it kind of looked real unnatural. Hey Aria, how's it going? It looked really unnatural and basically not good. And so I went ahead and restripped all these guys, repainted them, and now they at least have a little bit more of a resemblance to the rest of my army. Doing okay? That's good to know. I don't want to say bemoaning the fact, but commenting on how it's going to be a little more difficult for me to stream because my online classes are taking a whole lot more time than I thought they would, and they're basically bleeding into what would be stream time normally. But right now, my wife is playing D&D with her friends, so I have a little extra time, so I figured I'd go ahead and do a little stream as I try and paint these guys up again. Because I don't know if you were here for the last stream where I had them, but I was doing each one individually with like a high contrast style. That was a lot of colors layered on top of each other. And while I liked the overall look, I did not like the placement of the highlights, because it made it look very unnatural and weird. Missed the last stream? That's okay. Yeah, I didn't like how I was placing the reflections on it, and I didn't really want these guys to stand out too much compared to the rest of my line troops, so I stripped them down, and I completely redid them with an airbrush. So now they at least resemble the rest of my guys a little more. You were in Atlanta for nearly a week due to a family emergency. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope everything's okay. Like I said, not a whole lot, just working on these guys a little bit. And I think... Can I hit that? I love these old Space Marine sculpts, but they definitely have a couple of weird places in them where I'm not really sure if I should hit them. It'll be alright with time. Well, that's good to hear. I hope that time comes sooner rather than later. I hope that everything's okay. I had a weird moment today. I have a professional Facebook that I use because I didn't at the time want my my non-professional shenanigans making it into a search engine if an employer wanted to do a background check. So I made a professional one that was a lot more bare bones. And my first couple years teaching, Facebook was still a thing kids used. I was assured it was okay for me to return home, despite me saying it was quite fine if I needed to stay longer. Well, that's fair. That's good, I suppose. At least they felt comfortable enough for that, with the little bit of knowledge that I have. But back when I first started teaching, kids were still using Facebook. It was still the in social media. So a bunch of kids friended me on Facebook, on that Facebook account, and I just kind of left it at that. I didn't really interact with anyone. But today I got a Facebook message from a former student saying, "Hey, can you please call me at this cell phone number? I'm your long-term substitute for this week, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to be doing." And so it was like, oh, cool. Good to know that a former student is doing well and is, succeeding into a career. But unfortunately, when I left my position, I did everything I could to make it have a smooth transition to either another long-term substitute or a potential replacement. But unfortunately, my co-teacher had to take on like my position on top of what he was doing already with his caseload, and he realized that he couldn't teach the way that we used to when we were teaching together, just because of everything else that was going on. So he basically scuttled all of my lesson plans and frantically started to make his own, so that he'd be able to actually, move class forward and teach the lessons. And part of that involved asking the department head if they could collapse all of my classroom websites into one website, so that he'd have an easier time managing the grade book and whatnot. And so she did, but when she did that, it also deleted like half of the work that I had put on the digital website, which really sucks because that was how I was hoping class would remain under control, as everything would be on the computer and whoever was in there wouldn't have to do much thought. They would just have to help the kids get there and do whatever they needed to do, and it would be fine. But now half the material's missing. So when he messaged me on Facebook to say, "Hey, I'm your sub and I don't know what to do," I was like, well, unfortunately, they scuttled most of the work that I actually put in there, so good luck. But what actually ended up happening was, last Wednesday, I think it was, I went in and I made a whole bunch of paper copies of the work, and I printed out the lesson outline for the unit, which is supposed to take them until March. And it had a pretty meticulous schedule of what they needed to do every day. And there were paper copies in filing folders in one of the filing cabinets. So I told him, hey, there's this stuff in here. It might be helpful, it might not, but hopefully you can use that. And otherwise, just make sure the grade book is aligned. But yeah, I felt kind of bad because he went in thinking, oh, I'll sub for Ben Repaints because he taught me a long time ago, and I really liked him as a teacher, so hopefully I can sub for his class. And then he gets there, and the room's on fire, because that's basically what happened. But yeah, hopefully everything turned out okay, because after I kind of guided him through how to get into everything, he just gave me a thumbs up. He said, okay, I'm in, I got it all figured out, and I haven't heard back since, so I'm assuming everything went okay. Yeah, best of luck to him, right? I will say I was a little irked that, you know, a job that I left last week is still trying to get my attention, because it's like, legally I don't have to respond to you anymore, and legally I'm not supposed to be able to access this stuff anymore. So not really sure what to do with that, but that's going to be his problem, not mine, I guess. Yeah, just getting the base coat down on all of these guys. Just trying to get them to an acceptable level of other colors so I can start doing like the washes and the highlights and all that fun stuff. Now, I'll be honest with you, I kind of want to go back to the store I got these from, because I saw they also had a set of tactical Marines that were on heavily discounted because of package damage. And I don't know, the more I paint the models and the more I look at them, the more I realize I like the Firstborn models a whole heck of a lot more than the Primaris ones. And I kind of want to make a Firstborn Imperial Fist army. Because right now it's a mix of, like, you know, Primaris and Firstborn and all that stuff. With a heavy lean in Primaris because of when I started. But it's just like, I want to have these guys. I like these guys. They're cool looking to me. I like how they're kind of squat and stumpy, but their proportions, like, still read, and because they got the big hands and the big feet, you know, it just reads really well on the tabletop. It'll just look really strange next to the new Terminators, because those were all true scale, so they'd be gigantic compared to a lot of the Firstborn troops. But yeah, I'm just hoping at some point I have enough monies again to start buying minis, because I still want to paint some of those bigger pieces. I actually just saw that Station Forge released their version of a Great Unclean one, and Station Forge makes really cool, really detailed models. And I've been telling my wife that I want to get a Great Unclean one, which she is vehemently opposed to because she thinks the thing's disgusting to look at. But I want one, and I want to put it in with my Death Guard army. So I might just 3D print that one and make him part of the army and just paint him up to look absolutely disgusting. One of the other streamers I watch does a monthly like community day where they show off other users or their audience's stuff and like what they've been doing for the week. It gives them a chance to kind of show off. And for the last one, I shared my Death Guard Combat Patrol that I repainted, or that I bought, assembled, and painted to a much higher standard than my like original Combat Patrol. And one of them saw the Poxwalkers and were like, I don't like them. Those things are grody. I don't want to see them anymore. And that means I did my job well. Just turn it into a Great Clean one. Oh, she's seen the Great Clean one. She doesn't like that one anymore. I think if I were to do that, it would mysteriously disappear and be found in the garbage. So, unfortunately, I can't justify making it a Great Clean one. The Soft Servo, Ben, the one that you met, he suggested that I turn it into a Redditor, and I give him, like, a fedora and a katana, like a Maul katana, and give him a trilby, and have him like tipping his hat and have a plate of tendies and all that kind of stuff. So that was a thought if I were to ever be able to kit bash a Great Unclean one into a Great Clean one. Just make him into the biggest Redditor that you'd ever see. But that would require a lot more effort and talent than I'm willing to put into a shitpost, so I don't think so. My other thought was to make a Great Clean one, and then make it like a baby, and then put it in a diaper, and then put one of those like soundboards in it so that when you put him on the tabletop, he goes, "Mama!" Because I would really want him to mate. So I would really want like another player to look at him and go, "No, I'm not playing against you. I don't know what your problem is, but I'm not gonna play on a table with that thing on it." Because, yeah, when I first did my Nurgle army, or my Death Guard army, my whole goal was to make it so that people wouldn't want to touch the models. And I got pretty close with the Plague Burst Crawler that I initially did, because it looked like it was covered in snot and blood. Which, was pretty darn good for the time, but I realized I wasn't having fun with them, so I sold them all, and used that money to buy things that I was more interested in. But, now that I repainted that Death Guard Combat Patrol, it reminded me how much I enjoyed painting them. So I kind of want to buy them again. So I guess I'm going to have to buy Death Guard again. I think the last time that, you saw me, I was working on Mortarion. And I think, I finished Mortarion shortly after that, which is why I'm not working on him now. I kind of don't want to mess too much more with his robes, and I don't know if I really want to touch a lot of the other stuff on it right now, because the way it's painted, like the armor and the corroded, you know, rusted metal and all that, it really pops. So I'm afraid that if I were to try and do the same high contrast scheme on the rest of the guy, he would end up, it would be overwhelming, and he wouldn't be the focal point anymore. It would be like trying to take in the entire model all at once. The way he is right now, you kind of see Mortarion, and then your eyes travel along the rest of the model, and you get to see the rest of the cool stuff. So, at some point, I could have primed Alariel today, but I wanted to gather as much energy as I could before going back to work tomorrow. That was nearly an 8-hour drive on Monday. No, I get that. I get that entirely. Had that happen when I went to Chicago with my wife to go to ECCC, or not ECCC, C2E2. ECCC is Emerald City Comic Con. That's the one in Seattle. C2E2 is Chicago Comics Entertainment Expo. We couldn't afford the plane tickets. Yeah, you will be able to prime her, hopefully. I don't know what the weather's going to be like out where you live, but we're supposed to have nice weather all the way till Saturday, I think, if not further. So hopefully your weather is just as agreeable and allows you to prime that really freaking awesome model. Now, honestly, I don't remember which one Alariel is. I do know that someone recently in Sigmar got a really freaking cool, like, crow centerpiece, bird centerpiece, raven centerpiece, and it's like a lady that's half crouched down on a log. It's inching to the low 60s by the weekend. Yeah, that's kind of where we are. We're in the mid 50s right now, and so we're having pretty nice balmy weather, or not balmy, but just really nice pleasant weather. And while I feel like it's way too early in the season to have it, I'm not going to complain, because it could be rainy and gross, and instead it's just kind of nice. So I'll stick with enjoying the nice weather rather than complaining that we're not, like, buried in snow, because I like snow. I like the cold and I like the snow. But yeah, which one is Alariel? I'm actually, give me a second. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put this down. You stay right there. But I'm gonna look up this character. Who is Alariel? Age of Sigmar. Oh, that's a cool one. I can see why you're so excited to start priming her. Oh, it's the one on the beetle. Ooh, that's a good model. That's a good model. I definitely understand why you were excited about this one. That's a freaking cool model. For anyone else who is interested in seeing it, will the window capture work? Oh, yep, there it is. That's the model that we're talking about right now. That is an awesome model. Look at that thing. That is such a cool... Gosh, man, I gotta get into Age of Sigmar. Their models are just too good looking. Like, the minis they have, the little centerpieces. I don't even know if I want to play Age of Sigmar. I just want to collect the models and paint them. Because every one of them I am blown away by. Like, I guess I want to play Age of Sigmar? The base is a 6-inch diameter circle. Yeah, with a bug that big on it. Gosh, that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. My interest in playing the war games is there. I enjoy it. But just all of the cool models and stuff that Games Workshop keeps producing, I'm just in that stage where I'm obsessed with them. So I think I ought to just ride that wave until it's not there anymore, you know? Actually, while I'm thinking about it, give me a second. Let me get this. Get that little bit. Let's see if I can find a picture of the Moping to complete 2 display pieces are Hilario, and then once you get the tax return Fulgrim transfigured, that is an ambitious model. I hope it makes it to you in one piece, because that's always been the biggest thing I worry about with Forge World, is that their stuff is beautiful, but Fulgrim transfigured just looks like such an absolute mess to try and move. Okay, so here's the Station Forge Great Unclean one. I don't remember what they called it. Actually, what am I doing? I can look it up right now. The Corrupted Guard Sporus, or Sporius, depending on how you want to look at it. Boom! I think he's going to be a perfect great unclean one. You have to assemble him first, so it shouldn't be that bad, except that super glue is my bane. My understanding with super glue is that I have the bad habit of putting way too much on the model, and then it never dries. So what I've heard is that you're not actually supposed to put that much on there. It's supposed to be a very thin layer on both ends, kind of like you're spreading butter on toast, and then press it together and hold it. And since there's not a lot that needs to dry, it dries quicker, and that allows it to create a really strong bond. The other thing that should probably help you with that is pinning your models. But yeah, that's the Great Unclean one that I am definitely going to have to print out and use to make my for my Death Guard army. I want to get me that. I need to get me some more Death Shroud bodyguards. Need to get me some more vehicles. Maybe some I forgot what they're called. The Nurgle infantry, not the Poxwalkers. The Poxbringers? I don't remember anymore. Doesn't matter. Either way. Yeah, with all of the 3D printing I had been doing, I've kind of learned the tolerances for glue. Though it took me a lot. Once I get them and see the pieces, there's a fair choice. Some pinning will happen. I do not miss having to do that with all the metal models when you first started. Yeah, I count my blessings that I did not start playing the game around that time, because that would have been an easy way to make me quit. I remember when I first met Ben, he showed me some of his D&D models, and he had like a dwarf monk, and it was a pewter model. So of course it was really heavy, and he told me that he had to, the arm would not just stay on, because it had like an outstretched arm, like it was throwing up a hand. And he told me he ended up having to pin the damn thing. And after holding it, I could understand why. And I think, actually, he let me use it for a game we were playing. And I put it down, and the hand fell off again. So I have no love lost for metal models, except for Slime Arbo, because Slime Arbo is perfect, and no one is ever going to convince me otherwise. Though I do know I need to repaint mine, because I do have a Slime Arbo. I've painted him twice now. The first time, he was like a deep crimson red because I painted his skin wrong, and he had just the absolutely most unhinged facial expression. And so I painted him again, and he ended up looking marginally better. But once again, now that I have a better understanding of what I'm doing, I kind of want to give him one more paint job to see if I can hit that like pinnacle of unhinged insanity, but quality that Slime Arbo deserves. In fact, I think in my carrying case, he's the only non-Imperium character I have in there, because of the game Where's Slime Arbo? Okay. But yeah, unfortunately, because of my economic situation, I will not be using my tax return on anything fun. It is all going to go straight towards paying taxes, which is really funny to think about it. But, yep. Otherwise, I'd probably buy myself a much nicer gaming, or a much nicer rig for streaming and for vidya gaming. Especially considering I'm trying to get into IT, and those kind of services. So having a better computer seems like a gooder idea for me. But nope, not gonna have the money for that. Gosh, I don't even know what my mini painting hobby painting goals are for this year. I haven't even thought about it. I think if anything, it might be I think it might be to continue making more money via PayPal. Because I looked at my tax return from this year that I got from PayPal, and I looked at it from last year, and I found out that without really meaning to, I almost tripled my cash flow. And so that was kind of a nice feather in the cap to know that even though I'm not pushing it really hard, my commission work has gotten enough word of mouth that more people are willing to pay me money for it. That was cool. So yeah, it's not a substantial amount or anything. It was enough to keep me supplied and kind of keep my hobby painting going. But I would love to start making enough money through this that I never have to pay for like miniature painting supplies ever again. That's what I'd like to get to. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the money that I made from it went to paying bills. This year has not been very good economically, but hopefully, when I start getting... Yeah, I know. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. It is fantastic. Yay me. I'm good at doing things. But hopefully, this year with the new career choice, I'll be able to have a little bit more financial security. And did I paint his? Yeah, I painted his leggies. I guess I could go ahead and do that, and that will allow me to have a little more freedom with buying things. Because a lot of my purchases last year were made either using gift money or using some of the money that I got via the commission work, or by people trading me minis for the commission work. But I'm in the mood to do some like big ticket items. Thank you, I appreciate it. I should be proud of it, and I am. I don't know, as someone who, 10 years ago never thought that they'd ever be able to paint a miniature, I think I'm doing pretty okay. When I was but a wee little tater tot, I tried to paint a Robotech model that I got, and I didn't know what I was doing. And obviously YouTube wasn't a thing, so I just slapped this really thick, chunky acrylic paint on it, and it looked friggin' terrible. And it made me feel so bad that I was like, I guess miniature painting or model painting's not going to be my thing. This looks terrible, and I'm embarrassed I did it. So, being in a position now where I'm making money off of it because people are like, you're a good enough painter that I want you to paint my stuff, feels pretty darn good. Okay. Just doing a little bit of touch up here and there. Try and make some of these lines look less like ass. There we go. And then I can move on from there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what I feel bad because every year I've said this, which has been the last couple of years, disaster hath struck. But I'm kind of excited to see what the year 2024 is going to bring. So far, it's brought a career change. It's brought better mental health, which is always good. Hopefully, the same can be said for all my friends. I would love to know that all my friends are doing okay. I didn't do his belt. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do your belt, man. The belt. Get the belt. Now, luckily, even though I won't be able to buy supplies for a little while, I managed to buy a bunch of Winsor & Newton brushes. And so I've got a ton in reserve. So at the very least, I'm not going to run out of good brushes for a little while. Because that's something I legitimately worry about. It's really hard to do some of the more precise painting I like to do without a good brush. There we go. That's about as good as it's going to get her. Yeah, that's been a big part of the last couple years for me, is trying to get better in that department, because I have not always been kind to myself, and I feel like it's about time that I am. So hopefully that trend will continue over the next couple of, or, you know, in the foreseeable future. That's a better way of putting it. And I mean, like, I'm already doing better. As stressful as it is to be temporarily unemployed, as I'm going to call it, I'm at least not waking up and anxiety vomiting every day, which was what was happening when I was just still doing the teaching job. So that's definitely a positive. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, given how much stuff I watch on it, you'd figure I'd be better at it. But, you know, sometimes it's hard to... It's really hard to see where you need help, even if you see it so clearly in other people. Okay, I think I can move on to reds, because that's going to be next in line, is doing the reds on these guys, which is going to end up being the trim, the Aquila on the Sergeant, some of the lenses. Oh, I should probably get a brown out too. And then, yeah, some of that in there. But yep, it's all a struggle, but it's a good struggle because I got friends. Friends help with all that stuff. Speaking of friends, my wife has been so into Baldur's Gate recently, and I could not be happier. We've been playing it not quite every night, but pretty darn close to it. And she kind of had the same reaction to it I did. First couple of nights when we were just kind of getting through the starter area, which she had seen a little bit from my game, she was like, game's alright. I'm just kind of playing it for the characters because my friends in the art community are in love with it, and I really want to be able to experience the joy that they're experiencing. But now she's, gosh, we're about 12, 15 hours in, I guess. And now she's like all in. She is excited about the game. She is excited to see where more of it goes. And it couldn't make me happier because I really like the game, and I'm really happy I get to experience it with my wife, because she's not playing it the same way I normally would, and that's a good thing. I'm also kind of tickled at some of the same decisions that we've made, because we kind of both play games the same way, in that I'm a baby and I can't play an evil route in a game. And so she's doing a lot of that same stuff where it's just like, you know, I don't want to do bad things in game, because there's enough of that in the real world. I see enough of that at work. I'd rather play a game that makes me feel good about my day and what I can do. And so that's kind of how she's been playing. The one big difference, though, is that she really likes tossing the goblins. She found out pretty quickly that Karlach, when spec'd as a barbarian that throws things, is really good at throwing goblins. So now that we're in the goblin camp working our way through there, she has made it her goal to toss every smelly little child she can find. And that is hilarious, because the way that they designed the goblins, they're all pretty awful and all malicious enough that you don't feel too bad about throwing them around. And so to me, that is peak hilarity, is watching my wife just using the big red lady in the game, just running up to a goblin and throwing it into another one over and over again. And I think she has decided that her little cuddle pile is going to consist of herself and Astarion and Karlach, which is a pretty common one because those two characters are really well loved by the community. But, you know, she's having fun with it, and so that makes me happy. It's actually gotten to the point where I don't think she forgot about it, but she still hasn't beaten Tears of the Kingdom, which was another game that she was kind of elbow deep in, but she slowed down when she realized the game was ending, because she didn't want it to end. She realized that if she goes and beats the game, she's not going to really have a lot of motivation to go back and do more of the side quests she might have missed. But at the same time, she's not really finding a whole lot of fun playing through the side quests. So she just kind of put it away for a while, and in the interim started playing Baldur's Gate, and I guess that's where her joy is right now. And so I'm kind of interested in seeing if I can get her to play more of these games with me. Because I think I've mentioned before, but she's not overly keen on the combat. She's almost entirely there for the interpersonal relationships and getting to enjoy that stuff. I think if she put it, she wishes it was just a visual novel, which I completely get. Larian Studios does a really good job characterizing their characters. Go. Doing precision painting is hard when you've got a really rounded brush. It's a beautiful game from what little you've poked at it. Yeah, I'm very impressed with the whole Baldur's Gate series. I've never played the first two. Well, I take that back. I played Baldur's Gate 2 for all of about 10 minutes before I kind of got bored and turned it off, which I'm beginning to realize was a massive mistake. I think one of my favorite things that I've heard so far about it is that they snuck in 2 Easter eggs from previous Baldur's Gate games. And one of them is that there's a character in each of the Baldur's Gates whose name is like N double consonant Burr. So like the first one was named Nabor, and the second one was named Nibor, and the third one was Nibor. They put another one in Baldur's Gate 3 named, I think, Nuber. And the whole joke is that all of those characters follow you around incessantly and talk to you and bother you and harass you in just a really annoying way. And when I first met the character, I thought it was funny because he had a funny little quest line, but I did not realize it was a running joke that's been going on since the first game. And apparently, I don't know if it's if you talk to him or I forgot what, you basically find out that all of them are related. They're all like son of a son of a son kind of things. And there's another one. He's like a chef, and when you find him, he's like, "Hey, are you the exterminators? Because we need you to go downstairs and deal with all the rats in the cellar." Which, you know, is a fairly famous D&D trope to begin with. But his character is also a reference to, like, I think Baldur's Gate 1, where they had another character whose name was also similar, who tells you to do the same thing, but it's in a warehouse. So there's just a lot of fun little hidden bits and bobs in there. And I feel like even though I'm now going through, I think this is my 4th playthrough, I'm still finding new things. Like, honestly, I've beaten the game once. I think I mentioned that. I beat the game once, and then I tried to play through again as, like, a halfling bard. And I'll be honest, I wasn't having that much fun with the game or the class or my character, so I deleted that one and I rolled another one. And then the wife wanted to play, so I made another character with her. And a couple of my friends wanted to play, so I made another character with them. So that has been a lot of seeing just the massive amount that game has to offer. And probably my favorite thing about it was finding out how not demanding it was in terms of like graphics cards or whatever. So it's been nice knowing that they didn't kind of price themselves out by trying to make the game too pretty and therefore impossible for people with more budget-oriented laptops to play. Though I gotta say, I made the mistake, since I'm learning all this stuff that's just like baseline, here's how computers work, it's making me want to build another computer, and I don't have the money to build another computer. I want to build myself one of those big honking, like, workstations, or whatever you want to call it, media stations, that just has way too much stuff on it. And, you know, it has like three different, Wait, I can make his lens red, I think. Yeah. Has like 3 different hard drives and like 32 bajillion things of RAM. And so, I've done it twice already. I upgraded my computer back when I first moved down to where I live right now, about 10 years ago. And then as a gift for my wife, when she first moved up here, I built her a computer so that her workstation for her art career was a lot more comfortable and better than her previous situation, which was a 10-year-old MacBook and a drawing tablet. So I've done it twice, though that second time I destroyed a $300 CPU and felt like an idiot. So have you built a computer? You say it's satisfying to build. I'm assuming you've built a PC. There we go. Got that nice red lens. Several times? Okay, cool. So you know that, gosh, my brain just died. I can't remember which one it is. It's Intel or AMD. They have the pins on the chip, right? And so when you put the chip in the slot it's supposed to go into, it's just supposed to like slot right in, and then you use the pressure, the lever to just kind of secure it in place. There's not supposed to be any force or push or pull needed. It's just slot in, flip lever, all good. I think it is still Intel. I think AMD is the one where the pins are on the motherboard. But regardless, I knew this because I had made one before with an Intel chip, and when I made my wife's computer, I also went with an Intel chip because at the time I was like, I know Intel, I don't know AMD, whatever. But what I didn't remember was that the Intel chip has to be oriented a certain way. And that on the Intel chip, they very explicitly leave one corner absent of, pins with... Oh, so you know where this is going. With like a triangle over there to say, hey, this is the one that needs to be blank. And so I'm talking to her on the phone while I'm doing this, and I put it in there, and it's not going in. I'm like, wow, I guess it does need a little bit of a push. And so I do, and I feel it slide sideways. And I take it out and I see that one of the pins is bent. I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's okay. Maybe I can put it in there. And, clearly it was not okay. But it was just like, oh, I spent my tax return on this. And she was actually coming to visit in like a week. Or coming to move up in like a week. And I wanted this to be a surprise. Like, she knew I was building a PC, but I think she thought I was building it for me. So I wanted it to be a surprise that she was getting one. So I went on Best Buy. Yeah. I went on Best Buy and I found the closest thing I could to the chip that I got. And unfortunately, it was like $200 more. So, I ended up spending, I think, a grand total of like, I want to say $700 on processors. And I went and got it. I installed it the right way. Everything worked. But yeah, the school teacher salary, I used the entire tax return to build her PC. I did not mean to use the entire tax return to build her PC. You just built this PC last January? Nice. So that's got to be a pretty good setup you've got there. I'm still debating whether I want to build myself a PC or buy a better laptop, which I know that should be an easy answer, right? Because laptops have a very finite shelf life, and just by the nature of their build, they're not as good as PCs when it all comes down to it. But it's like, I like the specs are on my About tab in my channel. Oh, cool. I'll have to look at that in a second, because now I'm curious. But yeah, I mean, like, building a laptop should be the obvious, or I mean, building a desktop should be the obvious answer for me. But I really appreciate and enjoy the portability of the laptop. when I was working at school, that meant a lot to me because their PCs are friggin' garbage, and I liked having mine. But now that I don't, no, don't want that. Now that I don't have to do that, it's like, well, you don't need to go ahead and buy yourself another laptop. But I like being able to, sit at a chair and watch TV with the missus and do things on my computer. Oh my god, I know I follow you. Where are you in my list? So I'll figure it out eventually. I'll figure out what I should do eventually. I'll probably just do both at some point. There you are. No, mute. Mute. I don't care about Madden. Mute. There we go. About. About me. Ooh, favorite games. Wish list. Ooh. 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 Yeah, you went hard with this thing. Good lord. Very nice. Yeah, I hope. Good morning. For me, it's still evening, but good morning for you. Yeah, Arya, you went pretty hard with that laptop, or with that desktop. I hope to have specs that are comparable to yours when I buy mine. That is the plan. But at the same time, I'd also kind of like to buy a new DSLR. You jumped 7 gens in CPU. That had to feel good. There's a music video that I always think of when I just think of overwhelming power all at once, by a guy named Anonymous. And I don't know if you've ever seen Anonymous, but he, my understanding, and I could be wrong because it's been years since I've thought about it, but oops, there he went. But he was like a computer engineering 101 AM. Good gravy. I would be unconscious at that time. There's usually at least a 5+ year gap between builds. Well, I guess that makes sense because if you're investing that kind of money in a desktop, you want it to last. So hopefully you're getting that kind of time out of it. When I bought my new laptop a couple years ago, I think it was about a 6 or 7 year gap between my previous laptop and that one. And I felt the difference. And so now it would be about a 4-year gap, I believe. Well, I dropped $1,300 to span over that 5+ years for that. Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's about what I would expect to pay on a desktop. Is somewhere between $1,300 to $1,500 if you really want to get your money's worth. Because at that point, it will last you, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Like that video card you've got in there right now is a monster. That thing's gonna last you for a while. And the processor, my understanding is that's a really solid processor. But yeah, in a couple weeks, would you be able to do me some prints? I should be able to. I don't know how many because I've got about a half a bottle of resin left. And I think I should be able to purchase some more. But I also am not making any money right now. So I'll have to see what you got for me, and we'll have to work out, like, the monies a little bit later. But I would be happy to do prints for you, because I'd rather use that resin to print things for other people, because my printing queue is stupid, and I don't need to add to it. But yeah, I've got an RTX 2070 in my, or 2060 in my laptop right now, and that's solidly like in a good enough place for me to play games and whatnot. But I'd really like to have a better computer so I could play better, so I could do more things with streaming. I want to do more things with Blender. Well, at this point, actually, I forgot what the other not Grease Pencil. I forgot what the other program is called. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'd like to do more stuff with that and start being able to really red on the laser sight. Start being able to do more fun stuff with the stream now that it looks like I'm going to have more time to actually do things with the stream. Okay, so that's going to go there, that's going to go there. But yes, I would gladly, happily print you stuff. What kind of things do you have in mind, Red? Is it for more of your space bears? Okay, that's good. 2 trebuchets. Oh no, yeah, that's right. You're not doing space. This will be for Old World, right? Oh, from Highlands Miniatures. Very cool. Damsel of the Lady on Mount and foot on square bases from Highlands Miniatures. Very cool. If the bases are square, I've got plenty of filament. No, would you rather have the never mind. That's something we can talk about a little later, because printing the bases with filament, it looks pretty okay, but I can definitely understand why people would not want that. The trebuchets thing sounds really freaking neat. God. That's something I really hope I can get into more, is just having more time to paint means I get to paint more things. Because I've been very strongly stuck in the Warhammer 40k for most of the painting time. And I'd like to, I don't want to say move away from it, but I'd like to move into, you know, other things as well. At some point, I got to get back to working on my City Watch, because I kind of pushed those to the side as other projects started appearing again. I will say, something I am excited to paint is this angry little demon baby. Baby cherubs, or whatever they're called, are terrifying, but that one just looks so angry, and that makes me laugh. So hopefully, I'll be able to have some fun when I paint that little thing up. And hopefully, I'll be able to go to BoonCon again this year. And then we can have some more laughs about the demon baby. And hopefully, Atsu will have not hurt himself before then, and we can finally have the sparring match we were supposed to have. The damsels are on circular, but I think they're separate from the base. Very cool. Is it going to be out this way again? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think it's not going to be in Virginia, or it might be in West Virginia. I don't recall. I remember that, like, being out there was kind of a compromise, because the previous BoonCon had been out in West Virginia, and so it was like we gotta make it so that it's not, you know, that like everyone like one side of the group has to travel 1 million miles. Promise to do your best not to break anything. That's absolutely fair. When I last talked to Ben about it, I think the BoonCon this time was supposed to be in a place where everyone had to travel about the same amount, but it was also supposed to be longer. You would get them from GW, but they're online made to order, and the wait time is 6 months. Oh, yeah, no, Red, I promise you, you're not going to have to wait that long. If I have to, I will underground street fight, bare knuckle street fight to get the money to make those. At the most, actually, I don't know, how long did it take for the other stuff? How long does it take for the other stuff to get to you, Red, whenever I ship it? It's like a month, right? Because that would be the plan, is I would get it printed as soon as possible, and then I'd be able to ship it out to you pretty quickly. Hopefully as well packed as it normally is. But yeah, I think the plan is to make it so it's another halfway meeting point, but also to extend out the actual BoonCon, because last time, you know, it felt like we were just getting started and everyone had to leave, because it was from like, what, Friday to Sunday, and that just didn't feel like enough time. So I think this year, I wouldn't be a full week or anything, but I think the plan is to start it on like Wednesday or Thursday, so that there's a little bit more time to actually get to enjoy and relax into it, instead of feeling like everything has to be done right now. You know what I mean? Less than a month, 3 weeks tops. I hope so. That's the hope, is that if and when I ship to you again, it takes that amount of time. I know that I recently shipped my old Death Guard to a gentleman in Singapore, and it got there in like 3 weeks. So it shouldn't take too long if and when you're ready to pull the trigger. But yeah, one of my hopes this year, one is to get more Warhammer in, because I got to play against Atsu in a small combat patrol game where he shared some of my army, and I got to play against you, and that's kind of where the Warhammer ended. And it's like, I get it, it's a big commitment in terms of time, but I would really love to actually play it a little more, and I think giving us all more time would make that possible. I felt really bad because one of their friends brought his Blood Angels army that he was like in the middle of prepping and he wanted to test out, and he never got a chance to play them. So he brought, like, you know, 1,500 points of an army, and it just kind of sat there in a box. Now, one thing that we all... I don't know if we all still wanted to do it. I don't know if anything came of it. But, do the same again. I'll send you the money for the files resident for donor. Well, thank you. Yeah, that we can do that. Just let me know when you're ready. Because right now my printer is... you know, it's not running. I just got through doing a pretty big commission of terrain and stuff. And so all my resin is back in the pot. Or in the bottle. The printers are off. And they're ready to go whenever you're ready to go. But yeah, I'd like to do more Warhammer. That's definitely one thing I'd like to do. I think there's going to be a new game if everyone follows through, and we're going to play some Turnip 28, which feels like it's going to be an absolute disaster, because that game is an absolute disaster, but I'm looking forward to it. And I would like to spar Atsu, because that was one of the big things he talked about, was wanting to spar me, because he knew that I have been doing boxing for like 6 years. And so it wasn't like a masculinity thing of like, oh, I've got to assert my dominance. It was purely a, you know, hey, you do martial arts, I do martial arts. Yes. I think, were you here when I was doing the Turnip 28 stuff? Were you, oh, no, you were there when I showed the video, weren't you? I do not recall. I'm pretty sure you were. Either way, I'm very excited to do it. I'm excited to see if other people followed through, what kind of crazy, weird armies they're going to come up with. Because, like, that's the fun of the game. Yeah, then another started getting into it. Fantastic. I love that that game's getting popular, given that it was started by one weirdo over in Britain. I'm excited for that. But I need to finish my army. I've got the City Watch heroes that I've printed out. I ended up reprinting the infantry because they were all too small, and I wasn't quite happy with the scaling because it made the heroes look like giants. So I need to reprime and do all that stuff with the infantry that I printed out. And then I need to make them dirty as sin. There we go. I don't know how I'm gonna paint that yet. Did I already do you? No, I didn't. Wait, no, I did hit the red on you. I didn't hit the green. So now... But yeah, the best thing about that is so much the fact that it's, you know, just make it out of garbage. Any game that where the belief, the strategy is just make it out of garbage, that game's a winner in my mind. Ben has gone really ham with Turnip 28. He's put so much effort into his weird little concoctions. So I don't know if he's done yet because he's been dealing with a lot of other stuff, but he's probably going to have the strangest army. Are these commissioned? No, these are mine. I found them for on sale for like half off because they were in a severely damaged box at the game store. And I was like, I've wanted these for about a year, so I'm gonna buy them. And originally, hey, Mini Scribbler, how's it going? How you doing? I'm just painting up some my brain died. Some Space Marine Devastators, which are the dudes with the big heavy guns. I originally had them painted a little differently. and I had this high contrast look where they had these really glaring high spots and low spots, but I didn't like how it looked. So I redid them with more of an airbrushed look to them, and now I'm going through and hitting as many of the details as possible. I'm totally going to make my Neurolictor into a Neurofictor when I paint it. Very nice. So yeah, I just do the mini painting. I just try and use this as kind of a hangout spot for anyone who just wants to chill and watch someone paint Warhammer models. Though I have been trying to move into other things. I've done some other stuff. I've done some one-page rule stuff. Done a little bit of D&D, which is actually where I got my start with the mini painting. I'm trying to do some more Age of Sigmar because I think those models look absolutely fantastic. But currently, I'm not really in a position to purchase anything, so I'm going through what has become a very large, not a very large backlog, but a large enough backlog that I should be set for a while. I was working on the Warhammer Cursed City miniatures, but that kind of fell to the wayside when I got a commission project for some Grey Knight heroes, and then I bought these, so that's what I've been working on. If you want to see some of the Cursed City guys, I've got this one, who I painted up. Tried to give him as much contrast as I could on, like, the arms and the pants, and I probably ought to do something more fun with that shoulder, but, you know, it is what it is. And, let's see. Did I finish this guy? I think I finished him. Got him looking all nice and sickly. Really happy with how that, how the fabric on his pants came out. So, yeah. Eventually, I'll finish these guys, and then I'll convince all my friends to play a game, because I still have yet to play Cursed City, and I really want to, because it seems like just the thing to, like, really have fun with my friends. Because as cool as stuff like Warhammer is, I'd rather play games with people than against them. What was I doing? I think dark brown is where I was going next. Wait, I'm going to go ahead and use my little vortex mixer to mix up my dark brown. I finally gave in and I bought some more Dryad bark. I've been using Vallejo dark browns, and they've been not the color I want. So hopefully this will get what I want. Okay, no, we're not using that one. We are using this brush. Come on. Yep. That is kind of my story. I was a school teacher up until recently, but due to mental health and stress issues, I have quit that job, and I am now moving into something completely different, which is unfortunately going to take up some of my streaming time. But that's all okay. Getting some coffee, very good. Yeah, at 1 a.m. your time, I would have it hooked into my veins at that point. Yeah, I am bring me some coffee too, yeah, right? I've actually never been a huge fan of coffee. It's become something I've needed to have recently due to the whole teaching thing, but my money's always been on tea. I always really like green tea with honey. And then I realized you can put, like, sweet cream and milk in coffee, and then suddenly my world exploded. Okay, most of this stuff is going to end up getting like a metallic dry brush to give it a more metallic look to it, like a warm metal look. Eventually this is going to get a really cool burn effect on it, but I will do that later. Green tea with nothing in it? Yes, green tea by itself has a very gentle flavor, and I am all for it. Okay, I haven't used Dryad bark in a long time, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing so, because this is a really good color. I'm really digging this. Usually get jasmine green or mint green. I've been getting chai more recently because I really like that burst of, like, spice that you get from it in terms of the what do you call it? Not the flavor profile, the scent profile, I guess. I don't know what to call it. Do you have a skull? Of course you have a skull. You're a space marine. Space marines have skulls, right? Oh look, the gun has a skull. Everyone needs a skull. But yeah, I looked at the mechanics for... I'm all over the place tonight. I looked at the mechanics for Cursed City, and I really chai does smell nice. It's one of my favorite ones to just steep because of it. What was I just thinking? Brain died. I looked at some of the like the demo game for Cursed City to try and teach you the mechanics, and I really like how they streamline down their normal Games Workshop style mechanics to make the game playable, and it made me really excited to want to play. But then I stopped being able to see any of my friends. It just, like, work got to be too much, and now we're all just tired and sad. Hopefully that will change very soon. Okay. I gotta say, I like the new Primaris sculpts. I think they're good, but nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the old bolt gun. I love this chunky gun. Yeah, it's kind of like that joke, right? When the D&D movie came out, they had to delay it. And it was like, oh no, the curse of D&D strikes again. Scheduling conflicts. I'm really happy that movie turned out good. It turned out to be like a good, faithful, fun representation of Dungeons and Dragons. I remember going into it thinking, you know, it'll probably be fine, but the lore of D&D is not really my thing. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it or not. But then I just kept hearing good things about it. And they turned out to be right. That movie was a very good representation of D&D. And I'm happy it was. I'm happy it was, I don't want to say critically acclaimed, because it wasn't, but it definitely had a very positive critical reception. The people who saw it loved it. Unfortunately, yeah, I know, right? I love that they've carried that energy through a lot of their newer stuff. And I think one of my favorite things I read about it was that as much as they could, they tried to stick to the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide for rules when mechanics would come up in the show, in the movie. And that before they were allowed to start like playing their characters, once they got the cast together, they all played a game of D&D as their characters. So like they all had a pretty strong understanding of what D&D was. But yeah, Wizards of the Coast chose like the absolute stupidest time to be stupid when that movie was released, because they had a series of faux pas surrounding that thing, and of course, frustrating, annoying, evil, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to speak too poorly on them though, because I'm afraid that the Pinkertons will knock on my door. So yeah, it was what it was, but a lot of their other decisions have kind of made me not want to support them much anymore. As much as Games Workshop, some people feel, have predatory practices and charge way too much for plastic minis, I do appreciate that they seem to treat their employees well enough. Okay, that Sortle is going to get a really good look on it, hopefully. I don't know, is there anything in particular that you appreciated about the Dungeons and Dragons movie? Other than that, it was just in general good. One thing that I still find myself saying... Whoops, that's the wrong color. I still find myself saying, because it makes me laugh every time, is just that aghast Jonathan! The fact that they managed to fit dumb crap like that into the movie while making it all feel like it belonged was very impressive. Because I feel like that kind of humor lives and dies on how well presented it is. And in that case, they hit it out of the ballpark. They did a really good job with that thing. Okay, I need to add some more black into the handrail he is holding on to, because there is a lot of bleed through on there. And eventually, I think I'm going to need to go in between the fingers. And yep, there we go. I think that'll be acceptable. Let's see. The lenses look okay. Got a little bit on the backpack that I'm afraid to hit because I don't want to mess up the rest of them. It's one of the problems with painting black against yellow. Welcome back. It was a fun change of pace from general collection of movies that are released. Also, Tiefling Druid, instant win. Not because I normally play one or anything. Fair enough. Yeah, that was a really fun inclusion. I think, So, going back to Baldur's Gate real quick. The first time I tried to help my wife play through it, she didn't want to have anything to do with the mechanics. She saw me play it and was like, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to enjoy that. But she was really interested in the plot and the characters, so I was like, how about I play the game and you just, tell me what you want me to say. And so we did that. We created her character, and she created a tiefling druid and made her this like nice ocean spray green and whatnot. But as we played the game, every time her character would be on screen, she always had this look on her face. Yeah, talking about the D&D movie and just other D&D related things, because that's what my mind is on right now, because I want to play Baldur's Gate. I've been playing it with my wife, and we've been having a cracking good time. And she's up playing D&D with some of her friends on Discord, which is why I have time to be down here. But what was I doing? Why did I get the yellow out? I forgot why I got the... It doesn't matter. But yeah, good movie. Really like that movie. Where did... There it is, shot you gone. But every time we saw her tiefling druid character, she had like the most concerned look on her face in every scene. And that kind of ruined the experience for her, so we ended up kind of deleting that character. And once I started playing alongside her, she made another character completely from the ground up, and now she's having a great old time. You loved how they did the homage to the cartoon. Yeah, that seems to be a lot of people's favorite bit, and I completely understand why, because as dopey as it looks now, that cartoon, as I understand it, was incredibly well loved by D&D fans. So getting to see those characters not only in the movie, but like survive, had to have been a lot of fun. I was a little too young for the D&D cartoon when it came out, but I was really happy to see them in there. They had a couple of other fun, sly references. And I think, again, stuff like that makes the movie, because, they put that in there because they love the stuff. They didn't put that in there because it would make them more money or whatever. It was always like, here's something fun that only true fans would understand. And so to me, that's really cool. And I'm happy that it made it there. I had heard rumors that, like, by people who were trying to shit on the movie, that those characters were shown and then they were immediately killed, and it was just kind of insulting to fans of the original cartoon. But if I recall right, that's not what happened, right? They're shown, they charge into the maze, and the next time we see them, they're all in the in the safety cage in the center of the maze, right? And then the plot has to take that sudden turn because the big bad's trying to do big bad things. So I don't believe those characters die. So it wasn't like they were doing that just to kind of mock the original fans. It was just supposed to be a loving little homage, and that's really nice. Go ahead and do that green. Man, I really like the old sculpts a lot. If I can hit this without ruining everything else. Come on. That'll do. My goodness. Speaking of that'll do, did any of you guys see the movie Babe when it came out in the mid-90s? Because I haven't thought about that movie since I saw it in the mid-90s. But it popped back up in like a social media post where someone made a point to observe that movie was supposed to take place in like the heartland of America. I don't know if they ever tell you where it is, but it's definitely meant to be in America, on an American farm with Americans. And it's made all the weirder by the fact that most of the actors are British and that it was filmed in South Wales. Which is just a strange combination of things. It's made even weirder by the fact that the original story was British. So, I don't know what happened with that. It's one of those things where I kind of want to find someone on YouTube to do a deep dive on Babe and why that movie had to exist. Okay. Or at least why it had to exist in the way it existed. Because that one was a weird one. Okay. Oh, I see. I did hit this. It's just that the Ushabti bone is very, very close in color to the yellow combination I was using. That's okay. That one's good. Actually, no, I forgot. I've got a skull that needs to be painted. But yeah, I don't remember much about that movie. I remember near the end of the movie that "That'll do, pig, that'll do." And that's like it. Okay. But yeah, when they were talking about it, they were like, "Does this look like the kind of cottage you would see in the heartland of America?" And it looked like a storybook farmhouse that you would see from, you know, European fantasy. So I was like, yeah, there's some things in that movie that are just a little bit odd. Okay. That again. And I think eventually that's going to end up getting a little bit of that mix, and it'll be good. I don't know. Just an odd movie for the time. The 90s were weird. Do you have anything? You got the little skulls on your legs, so we're gonna go ahead and hit those. Go ahead and hit the skulls on your legs. You think that's weird? Watch the music video to Beat It by Michael Jackson. When he's in the pool hall, there are no pockets in the tables. I never noticed that. Holy crap. That's such a weird thing to have. But yeah, I watched that music video a lot. I was a really big Michael Jackson fan when I was younger. And I never noticed that the pool tables didn't have pockets in them. What did they do? Did they just put some like green felt over some regular dining tables? I mean, given that it was a music video, that really wouldn't surprise me. Okay, I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed with how this Ushabti bone lays on these minis. It's a little watery, or a little more watery than I would like. But it doesn't seem to want to puddle, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. And that's really nice. You only noticed it yesterday? That's so nuts. It was like, what was it? Someone showed me a music video, or a song from some hip-hop artist. I don't remember who it was. Probably someone important, but I'm not very much into hip-hop. And, the song was from, like, the late 90s. And, he had taken the stringed opening from One Winged Angel and sampled it as part of the song. And that just blew my mind because, again, late 90s hip-hop, not modern day hip-hop, where modern day hip-hop, they're more willing to, you know, wear their nerd credentials on their sleeves. Back then, it was like, why would he know about Final Fantasy VII, let alone sample it in one of his songs? But you know what? It is what it is. Weirdness happens everywhere. Okay, there we go with that. I really need to let that dry too much. That's just supposed to be a shade that is a lot lighter than the black. That'll work. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that I am hoping to have more time to stream. I'm hoping to get through. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it, Red, but I probably did mention it. I don't remember if you were here for it, but basically I had to stop being a teacher. I started struggling really bad with anxiety and depression and some like really bad nausea issues, and it made it so that I was basically rendered unable to go to work. And so currently I am unemployed. I had to quit the job. I was able to leave without any ill feeling, and with you know, all the paperwork saying that it was a medical leave. It wasn't a he quit the job and dereliction of duty or anything. But I'm right now doing a bunch of online coursework to try and get into information technology, IT, like security engineering and the like. But I started doing the classes on Friday. They're like self-taught online classes with lecture videos to watch. And the one I am doing, it's like, yep, retraining. Doing the retraining thing. And it's taken longer than I thought. I was expecting it's for the first certification, it's about 27 hours worth of content. And I was like, well, I can split it up into 5 days and do 5 classes, you know, about 5 hours a day. It'll be fine. And I'm finding out that that is not the case. It's taken a whole lot longer than I thought because I have to kind of stop and pause and take notes and rewind and all that other stuff. So it's definitely taking me longer than I expected, and that's really cutting into my ability to stream, which is all fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm probably not going to be able to stream as much as I thought I was, which sucks. Now, as always, if anyone ever needs anything, I am on Discord pretty much all the time since it's a phone app in my pocket. Couldn't do IT, not technically minded. My brain works in logical syllogisms. It's a lot. My brain works in if-then. I took a college course where I learned about that, and it made so much sense, and suddenly the world all clicked together. And I've been working with computers since I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. And I've always wanted to learn the kind of things I'm learning now, but I didn't obviously have the structure back then. And I was too scared to start it by going onto YouTube or something. But now that I kind of have the motivation and the resources, I'm diving headfirst into it, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's really neat learning why things are the way they are with technology nowadays. But at the same time, since it's supposed to be a crash course in like the basics of information technology, it is just a ton of content. So I've got to make sure that I'm being meticulous enough with my own side of it that I can't really rush through it at all, you know? So hopefully I'll be able to kind of speed up my process as I start understanding what is and is not pertinent for me to have to write down and record, and it'll mean I can stream more. But right now, it's kind of like I'm working another 9 to 5 because I don't want to be unemployed for longer than I have to be. So that might end up getting in the way of me having the nightly streams that I was hoping to start having. Well, I guess, yeah, nightly, I guess. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. I'm happy with that. I was honestly surprised at how much of it is just kind of like the contracting work that I used to do with my dad. I think I've talked about it before on stream, but my dad was a general purpose contractor. Which meant he could do plumbing, demo, electric, basically anything you could put in front of him. He at least had the skill set to do, if not, an extremely high skill set to be able to do. And I was kind of surprised to see how much of that, problem solving and thought process kind of spills over into a lot of the technical stuff they're trying to teach me now. Okay. What's next on these guys? I know there's more I gotta do to him. Probably ought to go ahead. Nope, I gotta do his skull, that's right. I gotta do his skull and his little leggies. And I probably should go ahead and paint this little name. Oh, that's a banner. That's not a nameplate. Okay. But yeah, I'm not really too worried about where I get in on, but there's like 2 large hospitals in the city I live in, and they're kind of slowly taking over this entire quadrant of the state. There's a big college about 45 minutes south that their medical school kind of feeds into the 2 hospitals, and there's another smaller but still fairly large college that does the same thing. Unemployment sucks. I'm on benefits because of my spine. I'm hardly getting anything. Yeah, that's not fun. And it really sucks that it has to be a part of life. And I'm sorry that that's something you gotta deal with. But, there's a lot of places that feed into the hospital near where I am. And, like, working IT there would be kind of a dream, not a dream come true, but it would definitely make life easier because it's such a major employer that I don't think I would have too hard a time finding and getting a job in there with their tech department. And unless I was really bad at it, just have a really secure job for the rest of my life that pays better than being an educator. And of course, my wife's mother works with health insurance. And so that's something else she told me I should look at. And then, of course, there's looking into working for the government and working in IT there. So there's a lot of different places for me to go. It's just a matter of getting these certifications and showing them that I'm viable. And hopefully not stumbling too hard with it all. But yeah, no, my wife was getting really worried that I was just going to, like, drop dead of a heart attack one day in school. Which, I told the kids this a lot when I worked, that if I ever do, first take pictures and second call for help. Because it would probably be really funny to watch their teacher just faceplant in the middle of class. But thankfully, I'm out of that situation. Hopefully. That one. I think I was going to do like non-metallic metal stuff on these guys, but I feel like that's an incredible amount of work for baseline infantry, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to... Whoops, that went way too messy. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do some like regular metallics on them and kind of leave it at that. Because, again, these are regular infantry. I zhuzhed them up a little bit when I first painted them. I don't really feel the need to do that again, which means also that I should probably give them a wash, but I don't know if I really want to. I do want to hit that power sword soon, though. Also, what did I get these other colors up for? I remember what I got the yellow up for, and I used it, but I also have... Oh, that must have been for highlighting the metal. I know what I'm going to do. It's time to do some edge highlighting. Okay, so I bought this Dorn Yellow, which is supposed to be a substitute for Ice White, or Ice Yellow, which I see used a lot as kind of an off-white highlight, or as a highlight for yellow. So we're going to see how this looks as I do a little bit of edge highlighting along these guys' edges, I guess we'll call it. Oh, this paintbrush is starting to kind of get to a point where it's ready to bite the dust. The Archangel, nice to see you. How much do you usually charge for commissions, like prices depending on model size? I used to do it that way, and I realized that that was not winning me a whole lot of commissions. So what I typically do, since a lot of my commissions come through Games Workshop stuff, is for... My god, my brain just died. For tabletop, it's the price of the box for me to paint it up. These guys aren't quite to tabletop. I'm going to be doing a little bit more to make them stand out a bit. And if you want, like, I don't want to call it display because I don't think I'm a display level painter. But if you want table, like, parade ready / display, it's twice the price of the box. That's typically where my stuff goes in terms of pricing. And if that doesn't work, then I can always work something out for you. Because miniature painting is not my main source of income, so I am willing to cut a deal. Would it be the price of the box for the whole box? Yes. Oh, definitely, yes. So, like, if you got a bunch of intercessors and you paid $60 for the box, it would be $60 for the intercessors. For all of them. I would also like to posit that I'm pretty darn fast for what I do. Sounds like a great deal. Yeah, I've been told that I undercharge, and I'm pretty okay with it. This isn't my main source of income. I know I should charge more, but I don't care. I just want to get more stuff for my portfolio. so that when I do finally reach that level of, like, commission painter, I would, you know, be able to show off all this stuff to say, this is how good I paint. Give me money. But yeah, actually, my Instagram has pictures of... It has both the pricings and some pictures of my stuff. I'm starting to get to that point where I'm finally feeling confident enough in my commission work. So, it's all there. That's why I don't do commission, except for the occasional little thing for a friend. You're a very slow painter. That's understandable, though. You also work, like, a lot. I've dedicated way too much time to this part of the hobby. Out of, you know, obsession. So, like, I recently painted up Typhus using what I thought was a really good high contrast scheme. And I think altogether that Typhus took me, I don't know, 10, 15 hours. And I was pretty jazzed with how he turned out. And I still think he's probably the best model I've ever painted. Okay, let's see, I'm not getting enough ice white in there. You work at least 40 hours a week, and some days you just don't have the energy for anything when you get home. That's absolutely fair, too. Like, work is hard. Work is draining. Even if you're not, you know, breaking your back every day, you're still putting forth 40-plus hours worth of energy, right? And it's just like, sometimes you don't have the energy to do things when you get home. Unfortunately, Ben's kind of going through that right now, because he's basically had to pick up the slack from me leaving, and them not hiring anyone to replace me yet. So he's had to do his job and my job. Dealing with the public is very draining. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I'm really proud of that Typhus. I followed a tutorial I found online. I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman, but I'm pretty sure I credited him in the Instagram post. But it was just like, listen to what he said and do my best to imitate it. And then Typhus turned out looking like an absolute monster. It turned out so good that it made me want to paint more Death Guard. Super into the tabletop side of the hobby, so I bought my armies aftermarket pre-painted. Here the armies mismatched, but at least they're painted. That's also fair. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. I prefer kind of putting my stuff together, but I'm also pretty good at stripping these guys down and repainting them, and I like doing that because it gives the models a whole new life. So if that's something that you want me to do, I'd love to do that. I recently did that with these guys, actually, because in my last stream I was trying to follow the high contrast scheme that I used on Typhus, but I realized that I didn't like how they were looking, so I completely stripped them down, and now I'm doing a second attempt on a more traditional kind of Imperial Fisty scheme, and honestly I'm liking it a whole lot more. Actually, let me see one. Why I don't... Yes, I've got some pictures of it, so give me a second. You can see what they looked like beforehand when I was experimenting with highlights. Because I do have a Discord where I tend to try and show things off. Actually, that's a good one. That's exactly what I want, because that's the guy I'm working on right now. Window capture. That one right there. So that is the model that I'm painting right now. That's what I had him looking like before I decided I didn't really like how they were turning out. And I went ahead and completely stripped them down and started again. So, yep. All of that took me a morning, I think, to get back down to nothing and then reprime. Either way, much happier with how he's turning out now. Come on, that can go there, that can go there. A little bit right there. Yeah, something I actually want to have more time for, I've mentioned it before, is I want to start making my VPO a little bit more movable. I do like the VTuber thing, or the PNG tuber thing I've got going on right now, because it's so low maintenance. But I'd much more like it if I could move him around and have him run around on a little stage. So that is the goal, is to eventually get it to a point where instead of just being two pictures of him talking and not talking, that he actually can run around and interact with things. And I actually bought a course on Zenva that is supposed to teach me how to use Unity. And unfortunately, I just haven't had the time to really look at it. So it's just been sitting there waiting for me to get started. So hopefully, now that I have a little more energy, now that I have a little more time, this is still very wet, I can start learning how to use Unity, and I can start improving on my overlay a little bit. So what armies do you play on tabletop? Didn't want to just leave you hanging with that. Oh no! His sword hand fell off again. Thankfully, it was just the sword hand. He's been disarmed. Let's go ahead and wipe that off, and then I'll glue this back on. That is one thing I'm finding kind of weird, is that the plastic cement is not holding up as well on these Devastators as it has on other Games Workshop plastic, and I don't know why. There we go. And let's go ahead and Grey Knights and Custodians. Ooh! I just did a couple of Grey Knights. I had a client who approached me because I actually used to be a high school teacher, and because of that, I got him into 40K, which seems like a mean thing for a high school teacher to do. But he got really into Grey Knights, and oh, thank you. Yeah, Castellan Crow and Kaldor Drago. And I've actually never painted anything in the true metallic metal style to that level of detail. Normally, if I do true metallic metal, I'm a whole lot more fast and loose with it. But because he wanted it to look like, you know, centerpiece models, that's what I gave him. Might have to pin it? I might have to pin it. There's a pretty good chance that that hand's going to get pinned. I think what happened was when I shaved off the sprue bit, I left an awkward little gap, and so that's creating some problems there. But that's okay. That's something I'll deal with later. Now, I will say, something I also have been working on, and I'm kind of, like, avoiding, to be completely honest, is I bought a Combat Patrol of Custodes, like, 2 years ago, and I bought them specifically so I could practice non-metallic metal painting, and it's been a whole mess. And so they exist, I still have them, and I'm only about a third done with them, like between them and the Sisters of Silence. So at some point, I'll finish the Custodes, and hopefully I'll get them to a point where I can be proud of them. But right now, they're just kind of sitting back there until I can build my confidence back up to work on them. But gold non-metallic metal is very difficult, and if you get it wrong, you really feel it. A little bit, just a little bit of... Just a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. But yeah, so I have some experience painting the Custodes and painting the Grey Knights. I actually want to start my own Grey Knights army, to be honest. I just think they're freaking cool models, and Chaos Gate just really sold me on the Custodes and wanting to play as them. So at some point, I'm probably going to buy the Combat Patrol, and I'm probably going to do some crazy cool stuff with them. I might be insane and try and make them entirely non-metallic metal. Who knows? I guess I'll know when I get there. I think actually though, and what I'm excited about, what I'm pretty excited about is that that same client, the one who I did the Grey Knight stuff for, he decided that his second army was going to be Thousand Suns, which tickled me, but beyond that, he knows he wants to get a Magnus. And I am just beside myself with joy because he wants me to paint the Magnus. And I've already told him that even though I would normally charge, you know, tabletop or for display standard, that'd be quite a pretty penny. I told him I'd do it for the price of the box just because I'd be so jazzed to paint Magnus. I want to get all the Demon Primarchs and paint them all to the same like level of detail that I painted Mortarion. And I'm going to be getting the Emperor's Children stuff when it comes out, hopefully sometime this summer. And I cannot wait to paint Demon Primarch Fulgrim. I'd love to paint Fulgrim Transfigured, but I don't have that kind of money to spend on Fulgrim Transfigured. So instead, if you guys want to see Fulgrim Transfigured painted, you're going to have to watch Arya Silverfire do it once she gets Fulgrim Transfigured. Because I know I'm going to be tuning in to see that beast of a model get painted. Yeah, once you get that, you're going to have to tell me. I don't want to miss that. I've only ever seen the model in like the Games Workshop previews, so I'd love to see what you managed to do with that beast. Let's see, a little bit of the edge highlighting right there. One of these days I'll learn how to do a persistent light source. Consistent. You get to see me work on Alariel first. That is true. And hopefully I'll actually be able to catch it. Because like I said, my biggest problem right now is that generally when like you and Atsu stream, that's time I'm spending hanging out with my wife. So I can't really spend a whole lot of time watching it. And nowadays it's time that I spend playing Baldur's Gate with her. And it's like I can't watch and play at the same time, unfortunately. You're still waiting on your W2, it should be here any day. Yeah, I got mine already, and I'm waiting for my wife to get her expenses all calculated and whatnot before we start sending in our taxes. But she also got crunch time too, because she's right now being subcontracted by a book publishing company that has like a stable of artists that they can recommend to book publishers. And she got a job. They liked her art style and they wanted her to do it. And she started working on it, and then she was absolutely killing it. And that's great. But then they stopped responding to emails. And then they responded all of a sudden saying, hey, our deadline is in like the middle of March or something crazy like that. We need you to hurry up. And so the company she worked for was like, that's insane. She can't do that many pages in that period of time. Why have you not been contacting us? So my wife got an email saying, hey, look, this is the situation. We're really sorry. Do you think you can do this? Or are we going to have to be like, hey, look, guys, go pound sand? So that's what happened, is she's now working in like supreme crunch time to try and get a whole bunch of stuff done, at the point where she's working harder than I am right now, and I'm spending 9 straight hours in virtual classes. So I can only imagine what that's doing to like her brain. All I know is that would fry me. The good news is though is that we're getting to co-work, because we have a futon in her little office, because I refused to throw that futon away. And so I'm just sitting on there with headphones on while I go through my virtual classes, and she's at her workstation right next to me. And so we at least get to be in each other's company and give like that moral support. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna have to... Your job is fond of waiting till the very last day to send them out. Yeah, that's stupid. I get it, but that's stupid. I mean, given how most businesses run, that's probably because they're backed up with so much stuff that they have to try and pad it out like that. I don't know. I have no idea how that crap works. I'm not an employer. I'm a teacher. Was a teacher. Not a teacher anymore. I'm a student again. A lot of things are pretty dumb with the company you work for. Completely understandable. We're in that weird situation economically where, record profits, but fire everyone. And I think that's all I'm going to say on that, because I don't want this to turn into a Ben Repaint screams about why he struggles with capitalism as a concept. But anyway, I think I finally killed this brush, and it is now too misshapen to use for its intended purpose. And that's fine, because I've gotten plenty of time out of it. It actually ended up lasting a whole lot longer than I thought it would. But at the same time, panel lining is highlighting is not the best time for this thing to finally die. Let's see. Oh, I forgot a skull. Oh well. Just get the skull in a second. Highlight fingies, highlight fingies. Those fingers are highlighted. And actually, let's go back and fix the skull on his hand, because that should be a different color entirely. Oh, goodness gracious. There we go. Gonna paint it that color, and then I'll go back over it in a minute after it dries with a few Shopty Bone. Be fine. There we go. Some of this. I will say something that has impressed the ever-living crap out of me is how much better Games Workshop has gotten at placing some of the like sprues and getting rid of mold lines in like super obvious places. Because you know, I got the Leviathan box, and I got to see their new monopose stuff, and I was just in awe of like how, first of all, how it all fit together, and second of all, how good it all looked once it fit together. There were so few, you know, obvious creases and gaps and other stuff that you normally find, and the mold lines were by and large in places where they were discreet. Games Workshop definitely is getting really, really good at making their product look good with as little extra cleanup as possible. And so it's kind of weird to go back to some of their old kits and see just how thick the mold lines were, or how awkwardly some of the contact points were placed. And something I thought was pretty cool was that with this edition, they made a very strong effort to try and make it so that like starter kits you could buy eventually would build into the combat patrol for that faction. So like the Space Marines one clearly builds into the new Space Marine Combat Patrol, and the Tyranid one clearly builds into the new Tyranid Combat Patrol. And I don't know if anyone's seen or noticed, but like the newer combat patrols they're putting out, they feel like they're weaker than their previous ones. Like they're getting a new Dark Angels combat patrol, and it feels like a weird piece of or a weird collection of minis. It's got a Gravis captain, and he's flanked by 10 intercessors and some Hellblasters and some Blade Guard veterans. And it's like, aren't they getting a whole new kit release this time around? And why can't we use some of them? And the old Combat Patrol had a Dreadnought. Can we please have a Dreadnought? And I guess I understand why people are mad about that, but what I've noticed with the newer Combat Patrols is they seem to want to have a splashy character, some heavy infantry, some melee infantry, and then, like, you know, regular troops, your regular troop choice. And that makes sense to me, because Combat Patrol probably wouldn't have a big-ass vehicle alongside it. So by making it so that it's a whole lot easier to balance, and making it so that, you know, one piece of equipment doesn't decide the whole game, it definitely feels like Combat Patrol could be made a lot more fun that way. The worst ones from old lines were the metal ones. Oh my goodness, don't remind me. I don't remember which one it was, but I've definitely had a couple models. I've had a couple of metal ones, and they definitely had issues with mold line slippage, or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, how do you fix that, right? It just ends up looking friggin' awful. And so I remember, wasn't that like one of the big things, is that with moving to Finecast, they were able to supposedly eliminate some of the technical problems and like production problems that plagued the metal models? Because that was my understanding with the move to Finecast, is that it was supposed to help with a lot of different issues that like the metal models had. Whether it did or not, yeah, it was called Failcast for a reason, right? Because everything I've heard about Finecast has been overwhelmingly negative. I don't think I've heard anyone sing the praises of Finecast. And honestly, and this shows how green I am to the Warhammer universe and the hobby. But what models were fine cast? Like, I don't know what they were. Like, I've got a Captain Lysander, and he's some kind of plastic PVC. Is he fine cast? Was he made out of the fine cast stuff, or was he yet another evolution in the Games Workshop, you know, style technology? Because he was in a blister box. He wasn't in a he was in like one of those little blister packages that you find on a hook. He wasn't in like an actual model box. I think I got him. What other models? I don't remember what other models I have that were like that I would think would be old enough to be fine cast. Do they still sell fine cast models? I don't know. I'm really glad though that I came into the hobby when I did. That's what it boils down to. Is just knowing that right now, you know, I got into the hobby right as they were starting to hit a little renaissance with 9th edition. You know, some other NIDs that have been updated. Old Lictors, some Eldar that have since gotten updates. The new squat snipers, one of them had a massive gap in its side. Oof. That sucks. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted black because I forgot to do one of his hips. That was something else. And that's starting to bug me, is that the more I look at the Necromunda squats, the more I scream, why didn't you just make these the army instead of the Votann? Like, I get the need to feel like they had to rebrand to the Votann, but all of them, without exception, all of the new squats for Necromunda look freaking awesome. The vehicles that they did look amazing. The models look amazing. I got to paint one of them for a customer, and it was one of my favorite models to paint. It's like, that is a good dwarf. A+ dwarf. Would put that dwarf up on the fridge for everyone in the house to see. That's what I want to see. And don't get me wrong, the Votann are neat, but they're not squats. I feel like in some cases they barely count as dwarves. Okay, I think. But I'll get off my pedestal for that. I'll get off my soapbox for that. At some point I'm gonna have to do something with these guns. Helmets for the Votann look derpy. They look very StarCrafty, right? I don't know what kind of spacesuit technology they're supposed to emulate, but they're not my favorite. I think the thing I like about them is that they remind me of Among Us, because, you know, that game was a hoot. And so when I painted my Votann, that's what I did, was I painted them like Among Us crewmates, and I had fun with that. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized these aren't dwarves. These are silly, and not in the fun way. So it just kind of became that thing of like, I don't want to play as these. I don't think I'm going to find joy in doing so. I don't know, something else I always associate with dwarves, though, is gigantic beards. And so knowing that only a single Votann unit had a huge bushy beard, that was also kind of off-putting. But of course, I'm griping about, you know, silly shit within the hobby. It doesn't make or break the hobby for me. I just wish that the squats were back as being a faction. The Votann are fine. They're fine. They can do their thing, but squats is better. They have trains. Okay, so one thing I've got to learn about this painting thing is that when paint dries, it's not always the same color as when you put it on. Definitely makes a difference. One thing I will say that I didn't think about, that I really like about the squats, is the planetary extraction thing, where they kind of extract resources until the planet's just a hollowed out husk. I never thought of that as being like the space analog for mining. So I definitely appreciate that aspect about them. But then I look at what One Page Rules was doing with the squat, or with the space dwarves when they were making them, and I gotta admit, I'm not exactly jazzed with how they turned out. But I love the ideas that they had for them. All of their gas masks and respirators were supposed to have these long tubes that would then feed back into the chess pieces of the space dwarves in one-page rules. And they were supposed to look like, the tubes were supposed to be like their dwarven braids for their beards. It was all a really cool idea, but it didn't quite translate to the actual models. So while I have collected all of them, all of the STLs for them, I've been kind of reticent to print any of them out because it's like, you're so close to what I want, but you're not quite it. What I am thinking, though, is since I have the Cursed City box, and it has those, like, Soulblight Gravelords on them, depends on which faction of Votann you want to play. Yeah, I suppose that is true. I did appreciate the reference to the Deep Rock Corporation, or whatever they put in the Codex, but, I don't know. I'm just not super jazzed on the Votann's aesthetics. There. Okay. I think there's more I want to do with these guys, but my brain ain't functioning tonight. I think what's going to happen to me right now is I'm either going to move on to another paint job, or I'm going to start dry brushing these. Whoops, I hit the camera. Hit the camera with my elbow. I think I'll come back to these guys a little later. Okay, let's go ahead. So I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm really bad about it. I use a wet palette, and wet palette generally is supposed to have single-use paper. I don't do that. I'm a cheapskate, so I tend to use the same single-use paper until it has holes in it, and that's about the time I throw it away. So in the meantime, I just super saturate it to get most of the paint off, and then I pat the paint off of the paper with like a piece of tissue, and that leaves the paper usable for next time, and it just slowly gets more and more oddly discolored until finally it wears out. I don't know if you guys use wet palette, but like, this is what I got going on right here. I really like this thing. There's the one guy who swapped some of the heads out for robot heads, and they looked awesome. See, that could work. I could see that working. I mean, like, I sold mine after I did the paint thing, because I was like, cool, I did it. I don't want them anymore. So I sold them basically as soon as I could, once I got some decent pictures of them. Yeah, that was my experience with the Votann. You were over here. And that was enough for me. I don't really have much of an interest in collecting that army again. I can go over here. I think I'm going to go ahead and hit these with a metallic dry brush. And then, I don't know, I might move on to something else. I might call it. I don't know how I'm feeling. But yeah, no, the thing, like I've said before, I am so darn excited for whatever they end up doing with the Emperor's Children. I'm so curious about how they're going to make the Emperor's Children still the Emperor's Children, but also not so explicit that it can't be sold. You know what I mean? And I suppose we will see in the coming months, because I believe they have like a top secret codex, quote unquote, that's supposed to come out in the summer. So we've got a couple months to go. But that's supposed to be, I feel like that top secret codex, it's gotta be Emperor's Children. There's no way it's not Emperor's Children, right? So I'm curious what that model line is gonna look like. Because it just feels like that's going to set itself up for some very questionable content. And so I wonder how far they're going to go with the one aspect of Slaanesh that tends to create the most problems for them, and why you typically don't see Slaanesh models in Warhammer media. And yeah, that actually did quite a bit to bring out this model. That metallic dry brush did a lot. It's still not where I want it to be. I'm probably going to repaint the casing on here in like a red or a purple, or not a purple, a yellow. Mine's on Emperor's Children right now. But at the very least, I've got them at a point where I don't feel so bad about stopping on these guys for this evening. Like, I'm definitely going to paint more of this gun. This gun is not done. It's a grav gun. It's got to be better than this. But for now, I'm just going to hit it with this metallic fry brush to get it to a certain level. And then I will deal with it later. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Some of that. Nothing a good dry brush couldn't fix. Some of that. See, definitely adds a little more character to it, even if it isn't right where I want it to be. Okay. This guy. Do kind of the same thing to him. Oh, I didn't paint the skull on his power pack. That's okay. Okay, whoever designed the chair or the servo skull that goes on his backpack, shame on you for making some flimsy ass model. There we go. I did something with it. That's going to end up getting shined over with something else. That's going to end up getting shined over with something else. It's okay. That's going to be fine. That's going to be fine. Hit the barrel. Some of that. That's going to all end up being the yellow casing because I think the yellow looks really striking. That's going to end up being some other color. That's fine. Yeah, I think the black backpack helps differentiate them from the rest of the infantry. Because I know Imperial Fists are supposed to have, like, yellow backpacks, but I think the black backpack on the heavy infantry looks pretty darn good. Some of that, hit some of that, hit some of that. Hit some of that. That's going to end up getting more of a coppery metallic paint over it, I think. Or maybe even a gold. I don't know yet, but I know that... Oh, no, I know what I can do, because he's pointing it. I can make him be shooting it. So no, that's going to get like a full-on fire, just got shot, huge heat wave look to it. That's going to be fun to do. I did that on an Eradicator, and it became one of my favorite flame effects or barrel effects that I've done. So hopefully I can replicate that brilliance on this little guy, because he deserves it. Okay. Guy is good, and last but definitely not least is going to be Mr. Las Cannon. Eventually I'm going to have to do something with that power coil, and I will figure it out later. Okay. Now I am tickled by this piece, because that magazine or whatever it is, I remember seeing that on like the Tau with their rail guns, their rail rifles that the Pathfinders had. And so I don't know, is that supposed to be an example of them also using a LAS technology? Or is... what that? I kind of want to paint it to look like Tau LAS or Tau railgun technology, but at the same time I don't, because Space Marines obviously came first in the lore. So what would cause the Tau to have some... Well, actually, I know what would cause the Tau to have it. It was the Demiurge, right? The Demiurge had helped uplift them and gave them, like, the railgun technology. So it would make sense for that magazine to bear a resemblance. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, right like that. Face down. Actually, wait, no. I didn't get his little scouter. So we'll do that. Also, definitely afford to hit that more. So I'm gonna... There we go. That a little better. Get that a little better. Get that a little better. Yeah, get some more light on some of this, because it is coming through way too dull on some of these modals. Okay, at the very least, it looks like the sword arm seems to have dried okay. And glued on okay. Okay, okay. Back to 4 viewers. I don't know what's going on with the stream, but I keep bouncing back between 1 and 4 viewers. And I don't know if it's a connection issue on my end, or if Twitch is having a hard time. I don't know. I don't get it. Okay. Click off that. That should be goodish. Good, fine. Okay, that's done. So these guys aren't done. I have not finished them, but I have given them a quick dry brushing with some metallic paint to try and make them pop a little bit. It's just being weird. You wouldn't worry about it. Fair enough. So got a little bit of a dry brush metallic on there to make it look a little less boring. Kind of running out of steam on these guys creatively, so I'm going to just give it a day to simmer or whenever I get back to this. But all in all, I don't think this is too bad for, I don't know, how long has this been? 2 hours worth of time? Especially because I was kind of unsure of how I was going to approach these guys. But the guns are definitely going to get a lot more detail to them. I'm nowhere near done with these things. Probably going to go ahead and hit the actual Marines with a wash. I actually have an oil wash, an oil paint, an oil something that I've been meaning to try, and I've just been too scared to do so. I bought this a while ago, and I have the spirits to work with it, but I've just been scared. So I think these guys would be the perfect opportunity to use that wash for a lot of the shadowy or darker parts on the model. And I guess I'll find out. But yeah, bought that a while ago. Got this guy. I love heavy bolters, man. I don't care what anyone says. Heavy bolters are some of the coolest things that the Space Marines have. But in the meantime, I was working on these before I started working on all that other stuff. So I've got these characters, these vampire characters that I was in the middle of doing. Didn't really get a chance to finish them. And I think now's as good a time as any to go back to them. So in all honesty, not really sure what I'm going to do with them. Let's find out. I think I'm going to go ahead and hit their hair, all of their furry covery spots, with a combination of scale 75 scale color deep blue and a little bit of Vallejo model color black. And hopefully that will give everything a slightly bluish tint that I can build up from, so that all of their hair and fur doesn't look like it's just grayscaled. This tends to be my go-to for a black, just because it looks better, in my opinion. If you just go straight black to gray, I always feel like it looks a wee bit flat. So hopefully, this will end up giving it a little bit more color depth. Come on, I don't want you to explode. Please don't explode. Oh, you're gonna explode, aren't you? So, the one thing I dislike about the Scale 75 is that when their paint gets stuck in the nozzle, it really gets stuck. There we go. Cleaned it out entirely. Okay. Let's mix that together, and let's see what we can do with this Scale 75 Vallejo model color mix. Wow. Are you kidding me? I think I accidentally put too much of that blue in, because the black is not coming through at all. Come on, you can do it. Oh, there it goes. Okay. My understanding is that Scale 75 uses a different medium than most other colors, most other paints. So, like, I heard that, like, Vallejo and Citadel and Army Painter and all those guys, they use, like, a water-based medium, and Scale 75 uses a resin-based medium. And so it has a much different consistency. It has a much weirder consistency that for some is more challenging to work with. And I don't know how true that is, but I definitely noticed that Scale 75 has a very strange way of mixing with other paints, in that sometimes it just doesn't. And you've really got to work it together before it finally decides to, like, combine. So, I don't know what's going on with that. but it's made it so that painting with this like dark blue black color that I use always is a fascinating experience because I don't know how it's actually going to look on the model. It always ends up being slightly different with how it behaves, almost like a gel instead of a paint, an acrylic paint. And again, that's really weird to me. It's something I've never dealt with before outside of the Scale 75 stuff. All I know is that once I hit this with like Drakenhof Nightshade shade and then start highlighting it, this color is going to look fantastic on these guys. I'm trying my best to keep it relatively close to the box art, even though I'm very clearly not, you know, the heavy metal team. But I also don't want to speed paint these because these are, I mean, like all of Warhammer is game pieces, but these ones are like actual board game pieces, you know what I mean? And so I want to try and make them look really good so that when people play the board game and they see these guys, you know, put on the table, they want to stop playing for a minute so they can grab them and look at them and see what they have and like all the details. So, I want to do it right, is kind of what it boils down to. And hopefully I will. Let's more of you in, water it down more. Bring down a paper towel. Start very gently wet blending and glazing forwards the darker color. Wet blending, nope, that's not wet blending anymore. Just towards the color. There we go. See more of that. See more of that. Yep, that'll do it for her, I think, with her hair. Nope, got a little bit up on the top of her head that I did not hit. Most likely because it moved, because she is on a really spindly bit. There we go. And then this is all going to get a nice little highlight once it all dries. It's going to look great. Go there. I don't think this guy's the leader, but he looks like the leader to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this... Oh my goodness, they've just got hair in the weirdest places. Do you think this guy is the... Well, not the weirdest places. Those are very clearly just, like, I guess, normal places people have hair, but thrown out to, like, gross levels to cover the unmentionables. Yeah, this leader guy... He has some hair. I don't know how else to say that. He definitely has some hair on him. And actually, yeah, that color is turning out real good because in some places it's peeking back through and creating the highlight for me. On the back, it doesn't seem to want to do that. That's okay. Now, I know nothing about the Soulblight Gravelords. I don't know much about Sigmar lore. I think the little bit I do know is that they're like nobles who were brought back by Nagash who want to stay nobles. So they live as like cultured aristocrats despite the fact that they're clearly bloodthirsty, soulless demons. Or whatever. I don't know, but I do know that they're really cool and they've got neat models. And while I don't want to play as them, I want to get an army of them. Mainly to make my friends fight. Flesh Eaters? No, I don't think these are Flesh Eaters. These are the Soulblight Gravelords. The Flesh Eater courts are the... Am I getting it wrong? Aren't the Flesh Eaters like the cannibals? The goblin... Not the goblins. What are they? The ghouls? These guys... I thought these guys were all vampires. And I thought they were the Soulblight Gravelords. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I don't know. I just know that they're really neat. This is from the oh no, my brain died. The Cursed City. box set because I want to play the Cursed City, so I traded some commission work for these guys. And I actually feel like I came out on top with that trade. I painted like 10 minis to get them, even though it was all the pretty decent detail. But yeah, I don't know much about them. I don't know much about the whole Age of Sigmar world. Just that it's given the GW modeling team a lot of freedom to do some absolutely crazy looking minis. And I mean that in the best way possible. Doing a lot of minis that I now want to paint. The Flesh Eater Courts of the Cannibal Ghouls were under a curse that makes them think they're nobles in high society. Eating a fine dinner. Soulblight Gravelords are undead. I'm bad at glad. Yeah. I don't know. I'm the only army I know from Grand Alliance Death is the Night Haunt, because I like ghosts, and I played Blue-White Spirits in Modern in Magic years ago, and so when I saw the Night Haunt, I was like, cool, I can make them look like the Aether Vial Spirits, like Spellqueller and the like. So I'm gonna play them, and then I never got around to playing them. So now I just have Heart of a Tempest of Souls box painted. Ossiarch Bone Reapers? Yes. Yes, they are. I have a friend who loves Skelemen, and I think if he were to get into Age of Sigmar, he would play as the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Every chance he gets, no matter at D&D or anything else, that man plays Skelemen. I guess I have it backwards then. I don't know. I just know that these are neat. Hopefully when I finish painting them, I'll have done them justice, and people want to look at them when we play Cursed City. Nick Ash is great. So many Skelemens. Exactly. I think before I knew anything about this, the person who likes the Skelemen, he was my best man at my wedding, because we were really good friends and we go back a while. And I bought him some, I think they were Death Rattle skeletons. And I think those were the original Death Rattle skeletons before the Cursed City box came out and kind of made them obsolete. But I thought they were Ossiarch Bone Reapers until I found out differently. But either way, I think he's on his way to collecting those just because it's all fun. It's all good stuff. Okay. Yeah, I'd really love to get more into that. I know that something that's kind of prevented me from doing so is that one-page rules is slowly making their way through the Age of Fantasy and Grimdark Future armies that they're making. Soulblight Gravelords are the Vampire Nobles, and the Flesh Eater Court. Oh, so you combine the two into one horrifying faction to mess with. Very cool, very cool. Right now, one-page rules is actually going through their Soulblight Gravelords. In fact, if you give me a second, I can find it right now, because they just released another new army faction. They're calling them the Vampiric Undead. And I think they're neat. That one can go away, I don't need that one. Window capture. It's like these guys. These are one-page rules versions of the Soulblight Gravelords. And, because they're doing this, I know I saw their itinerary. They're eventually going to get around to doing the Night Haunt. And so I'm kind of like, do I want to go ahead and actually spend a ton of Games Workshop money on Night Haunt? Or do I want to buy their Night Haunt? Well, not buy, I'm going to get them because I'm part of their Patreon. Do I want to print their Night Haunt? And that's all going to depend on how good the models actually look, because I was just talking about it earlier, I think before you hopped on. But, the concept art for one-page rules, the guy with the helmet at the bottom right is cool. I don't even know what that was. You love armored skeletons? That's because armored skeletons are awesome. Yep, there he is, the one holding the halberd aloft. That is a great-looking character. They did a really good job with the concept art for their space dwarves. And then I actually saw the sculpts for the Space Dwarves, and to be honest, I'm not super impressed. So my hope is that when they eventually do their version of the Night Haunt, they manage to do a really good job with it. And so that way I can just print out their Night Haunt and not worry so much about how freaking cool the Night Haunt are that Games Workshop made. Though I do think I'm going to have to get that chariot at some point, because that chariot is just too freaking neat. It's just another in a long list of stuff I want to buy. There we go. This was a little bit more. That was a little more. I'm not trying to get these guys up to my general quality. Like, they don't have to be perfect, but I am trying to make them more visually interesting when they're put on the table. So hopefully I'll be able to get them to that level sooner rather than later. Okay. Yeah, chariots are always really cool. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like the runaway carriage with the ghost horses. I think that's probably one of my favorite Age of Sigmar models, and even though I'm not playing Age of Sigmar, that's hard for me to say because there are so many just absolute bangers in the Age of Sigmar model line. I think of all of the stuff Games Workshop does, they have the most home runs with Age of Sigmar. Said as a 40K fan. There we go. I feel very awkward about, like, detailing this woman's crotch fur. Yeah, the black coach, that's the one. Thank you. Yeah, you posted it, I'm looking at it. Oh, look at that model. Oh man, it's gonna do this again. Yes, I am there. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Freaking cool model. Oh my goodness, I love the black coach. Well, bam! Look at the black coach. Oh my gosh, I want me a black coach. Like I said, I don't even care if I'm using it for playing Warhammer. That's such a cool model. I'll have to do like a diorama with that or something. But first, I gotta build up the courage to make a diorama. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel comfortable painting this woman's nethers. And I think I just got saved by the bell. I'm pretty sure that text was from my wife, and if it was, that means she's done with her D&D session with her friends, which means that I need to start cleaning up. So I guess that means he's a great painter, and he got me fully into buying minis. I know, right? That's kind of what I hope my enthusiasm has been doing for my friends, and that seems to be the case. Because I know some of them were kind of into 40K, or were somewhat interested, and what really brought them in was just my ridiculous enthusiasm for wanting to play this game. Like, they had a foot halfway in the door, and then they found out I was into it, and they're like, yeah, okay, if Ben Repaints is in it, then we're gonna do it. Okay, but yeah, I don't feel comfortable painting this woman down here. It's okay, she's not real, it's a piece of plastic. There we go. Let's hit some of these spots a little bit better. Hit some of these spots a little better. Brush off the mistake you just made. There we go. Yeah, I think this paintbrush is finally deteriorating. Finally deteriorating to the point where it's not unusable, but it's definitely losing that fine tip that made it so good for detail painting. Which is fine. I've got plenty more. Yeah, this edge highlighting is looking considerably worse because it doesn't have much of a thin side to go off of. That and my technique is just deteriorating because I'm getting tired. I think I'm going to have to call it soon. Let's see. That can go there. That can go there. There. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good enough for now. Got enough highlights in her hair. I can wash that all back down a little bit later. It's gonna be fine. In the meantime, though, it was really good seeing you guys, because I had quite a few people drop in and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And my answer was fine. I'm just tired. The online classes I'm taking are taking a lot longer than I thought, but I'm doing great. So, Bestie is the reason you play Warhammer. Those are my favorite stories about the Warhammers and about just like the hobbies in general. Is knowing that someone cool introduced you to it. That always feels good. Okie dokie. Pat all that down. Gonna put this away. Gonna wring out the sponge. And then I gotta clean my brushes, I suppose. Yeah, I haven't been able to play Warhammer recently. The people I usually play with just don't have the time, which, you know, sucks. But at the same time, I don't have the time. You know, it's quite a commitment. So it really kind of stinks when just scheduling becomes a problem. And I think I've mentioned it before, but I think that's why I prefer 1,000 point games so much. Because even though 2,000 point games are obviously more balanced because you start having answers for answers, I feel like the games drag on for too long. And when we barely have enough time to play as is, having to sit there and slog through a very long, involved game just kind of doesn't feel great. By about midway, you're just like, can we be done, please? And it's probably just because we don't have that exposure of playing too many 2,000 point games, so they feel more exhausting. Yeah, and that's why you play on tabletop sim, because that's the only way that you can find the time to play. And I definitely get that. I think that's why I fell so hard for the modeling aspect of it and why I like it so much, because that can be a one-person thing, right? And then you just get to have this cool little piece of art that you made. But hopefully, there'll be more free time for all. And we'll be able to play more 40Ks. And then during summer, BoonCon will happen. And I'll be able to play even more 40Ks with more people. And eventually fight some other people. And that'll be great. Anyway, I gotta get going. I wonder if anyone else is on that I can rad. Where is the Twitch? There is the Twitch. No, it's okay. Yeah, we've got Broken Eyed who is doing some Warhams. So I'm gonna go ahead and send y'all over to Broken Eyed. There we go. And that'll be fine. Thank you all for sticking around and hanging out with me. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. I hope you had a pleasant time, and later. Bye-bye.